Israel has long been able to count on the US as its chief ally, geopolitically speaking. Why? That's the question we're going to answer today. Why does the US support Israel? What does it gain? First off, three internal political reasons, three military reasons, and one governance reason. These seven factors will give you a good grounding in understanding why it is that the United States of America supports Israel so much. And then you can take it to your family members or your friends and feel like a geopolitical analyst. Most days I feel like a geopolitical analyst. It's a decent feeling, knowing how the world works to some extent. Anyway, let's get stuck right in. Firstly, the governance reason, right? So we'll save the three and the three for afterwards. First, the governance reason. Nations naturally favor other nations with a similar governance model. It's like speaking the same language. It's different. America and Israel are both considered liberal to some extent, democratic to some extent countries. In Israel, Jews and Arabs are not treated equally. Even Arab citizens of Israel do not enjoy the same benefits as Jewish citizens, but just that's just a fact. But democracy is technically a governance component of the state of Israel. Democracy with an asterisk attached. And the asterisk, by the way, doesn't even matter for America, which is also a democracy. America, remember, still had slaves, and black people didn't enjoy the same rights when the founding fathers of the US wrote to their famous constitution. Land of the land of the three, land of the free, but with an asterisk. So both of these countries are liberal democracies to some extent, and therefore that governance affinity is there. Now, the three military reasons why the US supports Israel. Number one, the US benefits, historically at least, has benefited on being able to rely on Israel as its military ally against more hostile states and groups in the Middle East. During the bipolar world order years, where the Soviet Union and America were rivals, the Middle East was one of their many battlegrounds through proxy conflicts. At the time, Israel was a clear nation that could be counted on to be in America's camp, in America's sphere of influence. So it was a good way for the Yanks to keep a foothold in those desert lands so far from home. I need to keep an eye on the oil, after all, lest it stop flowing because one of the Arab leaders had a moral awakening or had some other bright ideas, right? They might be in need of some liberation. In that case, Israel would be a good launch pad to head over to the problem area. Now, the second military reason for America supporting Israel was because American tech could be tested in battle by just giving it to the Israelis and letting them use it. And then you'd observe how it turned out. It's cruel, it's blunt, but it's true. American arms could be shipped, sometimes sold to Israel, and Israel would test it on Palestinians. And because Israel had remained adversaries to some degree or another with its native neighbors, be that Lebanon or forces in Lebanon or Egypt or Jordan, there's been flare-ups, there's been conflicts between the Arab states and Israel. Well, US weapons could often be tested on those other countries in the region too. And there's no replacement for actual field testing of weapons. There's no greater sort of way to see how things are working, what's not working, iterate, right? Americans benefited basically in supporting Israel to test American weapons, to iterate, make improvements to those weapons so that they could keep their military technological lead. It's brutal, but we're being analytical here. That's the truth. There's nothing quite like a cultural outpost in a foreign land that you can use to test your new toys. Sorry, I heard something in the background. I had to pause my video. The third military reason America helps Israel. Israeli intelligence is cutting edge, and America can most definitely lean on Israel to provide information on the locals. And so supporting Israel would allow America to keep gathering that intel, to keep receiving that intel, in case any of the other neighbors need a little bit of a intervention here and there. You can rely on the Israeli state to provide that information back to the USA. And finally, let's move on to the three internal political reasons for America supporting Israel. In a country's internal politics, Groups of people carry influence. Think of groups of people as sharing slices of a pie, the pie of power. Now, people obviously don't have power distributed equally in any government, in any nation state, in any society. There's usually a small group of people with a large slice of the pie and loads of groups of people with a small slice of the pie, but in terms of numbers, those people are huge in numbers. And in some cases, you have deactivated groups, people that could have a slice of the pie of power, but they choose, no thanks, I'm on a diet. Or more likely, propaganda convinces them that they have no say in the running of the state, and so they keep themselves politically inactive. It's different. This pie of power, how it's distributed, is different based on each country, based on if it's a democracy or a more centralized system like in China. But there's always a pie of power. I'm getting hungry just talking about it. In America, I want to talk about two of these groups of people that have a slice each. Christian Zionists and Jewish American Zionists are two big, relatively influential voting groups. They're big either in size or in influence. And they use their influence in the case of these two slices, it's more influence than raw number of people. And they use the influence they have to lean the American government towards supporting Israel in a number of ways. Be that narrative building uh, amongst the American citizenry, be that funding for Israeli military equipment, funding or in other ways for general aid to Israel, settlement connections and funding there, all kinds of things. And then there's a final internal political factor, because I said America has three internal political factors that lead to American support for Israel. So the first two were two groups of voters, basically, the Christian Zionists and the Jewish American Zionists. And the final is a lobby group, or special interest group, however you want to describe it, APAC. Some have described this as the Israel lobby. This lobby group has established itself over the years and gets incredible funding and access to government officials, and it's allowed them to grow and entrench their influence in American politics. Congressmen, senators, the president, everyone gets a cheeky donation. Not literally everyone, but many get donations from APAC. Many get tickets to go visit Israel, be taken on a tour of the stolen sites or whatever. Now, through APAC, often called the Israel lobby, as I mentioned, America is kept providing support to the Israeli state. APAC makes sure that the internal politics of America result in support, continued support for the Israeli state. So they're doing a good job for their mothership, the Israeli state. So to summarize, America supports Israel because of political groups, bribing, I mean lobbying, sorry about that. Um, America supports Israel because of the geostrategic military benefits in doing so, or historically they have done. They have supported Israel because of the geostrategic benefits in doing so, such as weapons testing, intel gathering, and a way to have a closely aligned Western democratic, as it were, foothold in the region in case they need that in the future. Times have changed, but we'll talk about that another time. And finally, the last point I made on why America supports Israel is, I've already mentioned, is because they're a democracy governance model. Sorry, I'm a bit scattered today on this one. Apologies. Now, American support for Israel has lasted, it's been blank checks through the years for days, right? Whenever you need, whatever you need, we're here for you. But all that, especially after these last 2 years, is changing. So much of what I just discussed here in this 10-minute video is becoming historic facts rather than contemporary, what's going on the ground right now, today, facts. Is becoming a footnote in history. We've discussed the reasons why America supports Israel in this post, but in the next post in this series that I guess I've somehow developed, we'll discuss why American support for Israel is now collapsing at an alarming rate at that. For better or worse, right? I'm not taking a side here. I'm bringing you the information and the analysis after the facts. And of course, you can disagree. And of course, I encourage you even to fact check. Don't shoot the messenger, even if he brings you bad news, after all. And for the unbiased news and analysis without the Western spin, I'm Mahfouz, and I'll see you on the next one.